Republican lawmakers are demanding the resignation of Attorney General Matthew Platkin. And there are about 1,000 reasons why that is the case, by the way. I'm no fan of the Attorney General. At the center of the firestorm, accusations that Platkin has withheld critical crime data, including domestic violence statistics, despite a legal mandate to release it. And this comes after a contentious Assembly Judiciary Committee hearing today, or yesterday rather, where lawmakers like Assemblyman Gerry Scharfenberger blasted the AG for failing in his duties. Assemblyman Scharfenberger, I promise I will not ask you questions about menopause. That's our next interview. But it is good to have you on. You can chime in if you want to hang out for that interview. You can. I apologize about that. But look, we've had story after story about Platkin. Platkin is, and I'll say it publicly, my opinion. It's not as a news anchor. It's as an opinion host. He is a menace to the state of New Jersey. This man defines progressivism and liberalism like nobody's business. And he is what I would call one of the vicious leftists you can't reason with. You can't even have a conversation with. You and your colleague, Assemblyman Robert Off, have called for Attorney General Platkin's resignation after the Judiciary Committee hearing. Can you walk us through what happened that led to the breaking point?
Well, good morning, Ken. And one of the things that this has been a long time coming. It's been building, as you said. There's been a lot of instances over the years. And, certainly we passed a suite of bills, domestic violence bills yesterday, and we're having such trouble getting accurate data and accurate statistics in which to base the legislation on. And there's just no way to accurately and efficiently create legislation when you don't have accurate data to build upon. And that's the difficulty we're having. So one of the most basic things is to be able to get these numbers. We're not able to do, and it's gotten to the point where it's got to stop. It's time, and I think he should resign. It's the end of the governor's second term, and we really need a change to be able to effectively operate as legislators.
So he didn't release the domestic violence data since 2020, despite
Right.
a legal requirement to do so. So this is 5 years. How does this impact your ability to legislate? Because you have to vote on domestic violence bills. You have to determine how much money to spend. Yet he doesn't tell you about the stats. This is exactly, by the way, when you hear the stats that the left loves to throw out there, stats like, oh, illegal migrants cause fewer crimes than the rest of us. And here's the BS on that. Major cities where the illegal migrants live refuse to note on criminal forms if they are illegal migrants, because they don't even ask the question, are you here illegally? Therefore, when you see there are 20,000 murders in the country, you don't know who committed the murders, if they're legal or illegal. But then they use as a talking point, look, there's no statistics showing illegal migrants committed the murders. Therefore, illegal migrants commit fewer murders than us. BS. This is the kind of leftist propagandist BS that Platkin loves to pull. So why do you think he is holding back that information? Do you think because it shows bad news for the governor and that there is a spike in domestic violence in the state of New Jersey?
Sure, that's very possible. And when you distill everything through the prism of politics like that, you only want to release some data that's favorable politically, and that's not the reality on the ground. We have to deal with real hard numbers, and we have to be able to tell where the problem areas are and what we can do to help legislatively. And this is very, very difficult. A lot of times you end up depending on anecdotal data, things that we hear from local police departments. In fact, I spoke to one of the police chiefs last night, and they're very forthcoming with their data, and it's been very helpful. But to prorate that out across the state is very difficult and very inefficient. So to not have statewide data, statewide statistics is really tying our hands, and it's doing a great disservice to victims and potential victims.
Now, Assemblyman Off accused the Attorney General of prioritizing political ambitions, of course, because he sued Trump and he catered to national unions over his job of protecting New Jersey residents, of course. And do you share the
Mhm.
view and what evidence you see of this in Platkin's actions?
It's hard to come to any other conclusion, and we've had an issue too where the Attorney General had sued several local school boards over parental rights and notification, and we really, really went to bat for the school districts in fighting back against that, and ultimately the school districts won, which we were happy to see. But it's very difficult when you're dealing with somebody's political ambitions to really do the nuts and bolts of what we have to do. And I would like to think it's not that, but it's hard to think otherwise.
Less than 2 weeks ago, the Assembly Republican leadership introduced articles of impeachment against Platkin. Of course, we have a majority of Democrats in both houses, so that makes a challenge. But you guys cited politically motivated investigations, of course, abuses of power, all that we're
Right.
talking about. So what are the chances? Are there common sense Democrats who would side with you, or is this just basically spitting into the wind?
Well, we had to draw a line in the sand, and that's exactly what we did. It would be difficult with such a strong majority of Democrats in New Jersey to have this go forward, but we had to do something. And if we put it out there, and we would love for the our colleagues on the other side to join with us, but we just can't ignore it and just let it go unchallenged. And this is where we're at. I think what they're going to do is just run out the clock at this point, and we'll just have to wait for a new administration to come in. But we're going to keep fighting to the end. We have to defend people who are victims, the potential victims of all sorts of criminal activity, and certainly things like the school board, where policy decisions are made that run contrary to the interests of children and parents.
Well, I think part of the problem is, and this is going to be a perennial problem in terms of the Democrat numbers in the Assembly and the Senate, until you get to redraw the districts so
Mhm.
that you don't have guaranteed Ds. Because if you look at if you look at the districts throughout the state of New Jersey, it is almost impossible to elect Republicans in 80% of the districts. They so rigged it up so that you can only have it. I mean, if you look at some of them, they're like, let's go 100 miles out of our way here, and then let's go 80. It is so pathetic. It's like if somebody got drunk and said, Republicans will never get this. You couldn't make more ridiculously drawn districts. And that is obviously to ensure the Democrats keep hold of both houses. You guys have got to band together if you get a Republican governor and change those districts and redistrict so that this just fairness. I'm not talking about making it 100% the other way. Fairness so that Democrats and Republicans can be fairly represented.
Ken, there's a lot of changes coming into New Jersey. We saw the last election, how close President Trump came, how well he did. We're seeing registration changes in our favor throughout the state. So there are green sprouts around the state, and we're feeling very confident that we're going to improve our chances, improve our numbers, and hopefully get a more balanced legislature. And naturally, in my view, a Republican governor, and we can make these sort of changes, and I think do really well in November and future elections, and hopefully turn the state around. We really have a beautiful, a great state with so much potential, and we think with some solid leadership, we could really make New Jersey one of the crown jewels of this country.
All right. Assemblyman Gerry Scharfenberger, Republican in the state of New Jersey. We wish you luck. Keep our fingers crossed, all of us. Let us know what happens. I don't think you're going to end up getting an impeachment of Mr. Platkin, but I'm sure we'll all just have to take our antacids until the governor is out of office, and hopefully we get a Republican in. Thank you so much,
Thank
Assemblyman
you, Ken. We're
Scharfenberger.
trying.